Welcome everyone to another Joseki lesson. This lesson is a recap of the previous two lessons. So I'm hoping you are watching all these videos in order because that's what makes most sense. Even if you're not, it's best to watch the previous two videos where I introduce the cross Joseki and how to avoid the cross Joseki. I covered the basics of those two Josekis, and I just want to go over them again and cover some other minor variations that I did not get to cover. As you're going through these Josekis, it is very, very important to understand exactly what's going on before you move on to the next one, because the 3-3 invasion will be a very important part of your games. And that is why in this mini section, I'm doing more of these recaps, comparisons, and in the end, I'm hoping to do a lesson on different situations where you have to choose different direct 3-3 invasion Josekis. So for this lesson, let's review this pattern here on the top left. So we get to this pattern on the top left. Once again, there are two ways to get to it. One way is for white to extend first and play the Hane second. Or white can play the knight's move first and play at number 10 after number 8. And now it's white's turn. White has three choices in this situation. Choice number 1, Sente, play elsewhere. Totally fine. And we'll talk about what black can do to white in this situation here on the top left in the next lesson. Choice number 2 for white, extend. Very straightforward, very solid move. Black has only one option, and that is to keep crawling. And white, 99% of the time, extending here is a big move. So that finishes this Joseki. One word on why black should crawl here again. Normally we say this exchange between a move on the second line and a move on the third line does not benefit black in the situation because black is simply playing another move on the second line, which is supposed to be slow. But the problem with this pattern is that if black doesn't play, then if white gets to this point, it is even worse for black because black will need another move to save the corner, and white has the upper side sealed off. So it's very easy for white to start building on the upper side, right? Something like this. White already has influence on the upper side. Or if you play this way, then it's already territory. So that is why black cannot afford to have white play at number 14. And this holds true with a lot of these situations where you only have one stone on the second line, and if white bends here, and number 14 is a very big move. So black cannot afford to take Sente in this situation. So just a note for beginners, most Q players, Dom players probably already know this. It's very important to play at number 13 in this situation. So this is choice number 2 for white. Still pretty simple, right? And the past two videos were dedicated to choice number 3, and that is this Hane on the second line. From the other side, it's worth mentioning a couple of roam moves. One is this double Hane. Doesn't really do much because black has extended one more time, right? There are 3 stones instead of 2. After black captures number 12, white is not able to capture these 3 stones. This is 3 liberties versus 2, so white is going to lose. And that's not good, right? Black is completely alive, 3 real eyes already, and white's wall is not as strong as it can be, right? So if you accidentally play number 12, then the best way to proceed is to play at number 16, right? Because you can't take the corner anyway, might as well play on top. And this already benefits black. So that is why number 12 doesn't work, because it sacrifices the stone for nothing. Another move is this cut. Doesn't really exist. And the correct move for black in this situation is simply to extend. Again, number 12 will be killed, and black is 100% alive, and white's wall is not a very complete shape, and black is very solid. Right? So this benefits black. The takeaway here, I guess, is to not waste stone here on the second line for nothing. Right? If you play out this way, then number 12 doesn't do anything. Same with this. Number 12 is just sacrificed without getting more benefits from black. So that's why white should not attempt these 2 moves. And that's why choice number 3 is this Hane. And as black, you might find some of the Josekis, especially the cross Joseki, a little bit complicated. You may not like it, but as I said, the way to avoid it is in the previous video, is simply to capturing number 14 here. So you might be thinking the way to avoid it is simply to not play on the corner, right? So beginners might have this impulse, just want to play the Atari here, already a bad move, because you're helping white take care of one of its cutting point. Black could have cut here, right? In some sequences, right? It's one of white's major weaknesses after number 8. But if you play this Atari, white connects, and white has a very solid shape. And now what happens is that black has 2 cutting points, and these 3 stones are very short on liberties. So the best black can do is to play this tiger's mouth. But because these 3 stones are very short on liberties, white will get to play at number 16. Black's strongest response is number 17, right? You're still threatening to capture number 16. Rather than connecting here, then number 16 is not even threatened, and white has sente. So this is totally not okay. This is slightly better, but not much better. White gets to play this Atari, right? Once again, it's Atari. Black must connect here. And now white should play on the outside, right? So should white play another move here? Seems like a solid move, but as we mentioned before, if you're playing a move on the second line in the opening, that has to do with life and death. And in this situation, white actually is very strong on the outside. It's not really afraid of being attacked. And black is also mostly alive. So playing here will not really put any pressure on black, because black can easily extend to the upper side or play this move, which is really important here at h15. So that is why white should get to this point. Keep building the wall. And this will favor white, right? Because black shape is pretty over-concentrated, and black doesn't have the corner yet. Black has this move, but in this situation, white actually has number 22 right here, which is a ko, and that's quite annoying for black. And black can't even capture number 16 cleanly in this situation. So that's number 13. Doesn't really work. So that's why black should not be afraid to kind of block here at the 2-2 point after white's number 12. And now white, again, only has one proper move, and that is this cut. As we said before, the cross Joseki will have black capture number 12, and white's Ataris twice at number 16 and 18. Black must capture and connect. And now white must capture number 11, right? Because if you don't capture it, then black will kill these 3 white stones. And it has to be this capture, right? This is one thing I did not mention 2 videos ago. You might be thinking white can play this extension as well, right? Black can't really escape, doesn't really work. But the problem with this move is that black can still come out this way, and white actually has a major weakness here in this cut. If white ignores it, then black can cut if the ladder doesn't work. And even if it works, black can potentially escape this way. And white cannot play a number 26, right? This way, black will kill number 26, as well as these 3 white stones. So this is not acceptable for white. White is losing too much territory here. So that is why, after number 21, white still has a weakness here. And now compare pattern we just saw to the actual Joseki, where white captures number 11 outright. Of course, this cutting point is a weakness for white, but this exchange actually benefits white, because number 11 is already taken care of, and white has a relatively easy time handling these 3 stones. These 3 stones are now very light. The key to this pattern for white is to take care of number 11 as soon as you can, and allow black to actually make this cut at number 21. So as we said, if white cannot capture number 21 on the ladder, then this pattern will slightly favor black. White should play this knight's move instead. And as I mentioned briefly before, I believe, black should not try to capture these 3 white stones. It's not a lot of value. White will very happily get rid of them. And at this point, white already benefits by a lot. And black should not try to capture, because if you capture, white can actually take sente at this point. And there's nothing black can do, right? If you push, this is just going to be an Atari you have to capture. And white, of course, will play another Atari here. And we'll just connect. And white is very solid on the outside. So this is not okay for black. Black actually gains very little by capturing these 3 stones. And black is extremely over-concentrated, as we can see. So instead, what black can do is to play this bumping move to try to start a fight. Or we can sacrifice these two stones and give black a better shape here on the left side, right? So this is one way for black to proceed. Threaten to trigger a fight, give up these two stones, and develop on the left side. Or black can play this diagonal move, also kind of pulling out number 21. And the idea will be similar, will be something like this again. And this will lead to a fight. So this is how black might proceed if white plays at number 24. But as we mentioned before, if white already has something here on the lower right and can capture black on the ladder, then it should. Right? So number 21 will be captured, and this will slightly favor white. And black will need another move on the outside. Otherwise, if we ignore it, then white will have all kinds of moves. This pincer, or even this attachment. And black will have a very hard time. So once again, black cannot afford to get enclosed here on the left side. Right? Black is supposed to develop at least a little bit on the left side. You cannot get enclosed this way. But if you try to force your way out, then white will actually gain quite a bit here on the upper left. And this way, black must connect here on the first line, which is relatively painful. And white has sente. So this clearly favors white. White is very solid here. So this is the cross Joseki. Black will have to play another move here. And this small knight move, according to AI, is the best move that we have. Then we talked about how to avoid the cross Joseki. The cross Joseki might be a little disorienting for a lot of beginners. And that is understandable. Especially what to do with these three stones, what to do with the cutting point, the ladder. Gets a little complicated for both sides, especially for black, because the cross is not alive yet, right? You need to play subsequent moves to make sure you can stay alive and stay in the fight. And that is why the easy way to avoid it is simply to capture number 14, right? Number 15 should be a very basic capture technique that you have learned very early on. The key here is how much white can preserve its wall, or how complete white's wall is. The concern for black here is white's wall being really complete, right? If it's something like this, then in games, this will probably favor white because white's wall is very solid on the outside. You have this peep, but it won't do that much. It doesn't do that much, these two peeps. So white has a very solid shape. And of course, we mentioned black can take sente, but that further, the problem with that is that further leaves the choice to white. If white captures this way, again, white has a very nice wall on the outside. So that's black's challenge, really, when it plays at number 15. And that is why you would see AI programs suggest black cutting on the outside. So the corner is already alive, right? Black can take sente, and the corner is alive. Either white captures here, black captures number 12, or white can play at number 18 here and have black capture. Either way, white has a very solid wall. And that's something black doesn't want to see. So that is why AI programs would suggest this cut on the outside, kind of triggering a fight. And white will have to connect here 99% of the time, unless white is very confident that it can win this ko. It's a huge ko. As I mentioned before, black wins, then the top left corner is basically all blacks. If black loses, it's all whites. So it's a very huge ko. And that's why most of the time, white will have to connect here, no ko. And this will lead to a fight, which makes it easier for me to explain, but actually not that easy if you actually play it out. Right? So apparently, black can just pull it out, and white is in two pieces. If white takes care of number 12 this way, then black can capture, making sure the corner is alive, and these three stones for white will be relatively weaker. Of course, it can extend, but black will have all kinds of moves here on the left side, potentially. And if white captures here, then black will capture number 12. Still, these four stones seem a little weak, and black should be in a good position to fight. And that is what AI suggests for black, right? Cutting here at number 17 and starting a fight. But of course, in this situation, early on in the game, you can still take sente, right? If you're a dumb player, you can consider taking sente. So that's the basic idea behind avoiding the cross Joseki. I don't have much to add to the previous video. I think I covered a few more variations. But the key here, once again, is to think about how not to get enclosed as black in this situation. And that is why white 14, right, this sacrifice is worth it, right? Because black ideally, right, will have to spend 2 moves, 15 and 17, to capture this stone, while white plays the Atari at number 16 and another move on the outside to finish the wall. So that's white's idea for playing the cuts. So if you play 15 and 17, totally okay by AI standards, but white's wall is very valuable on the outside. And as human players, that's something that we may not want to see. So that is the price to pay, I think, for black when you try to avoid the cross Joseki. So I hope everything made sense. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Good luck, and thank you for watching.